Right, so we're calling the meeting to order at 7:02. And we're going to stand. I don't know if that makes sense. Why don't we say we're going to sit for the Pledge of Allegiance? You have the flag right here. If you're ready, we'll say the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with
liberty, and justice for all.
Most people.
All right, thank you. Next, I will take the roll call. Mr. Antel,
Present.
Mr. Bartko,
Here.
Mrs. Miller,
Here.
Mrs. Davis,
Here.
Mr. Finn,
Present.
and Mr. Poliak,
Here.
who is graciously hosting again tonight for us. Our President Pro Tem hosts our meeting, so, all right. Next order of business on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. And we need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented to this council this evening.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Thank you, Janet.
And
Do I have
I'll
a second?
second the motion.
Okay, Bob seconds the motion. All right, Mrs. Klingenberg, are you ready to take
I'm
the roll
ready.
call?
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Bartko,
Yes,
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
and Mr. Poliak.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Now I will ask Mr. Poliak, is there anyone, I see there are two attendees. Is anyone asked to,
Yeah, we now have 3 attendees of the public present in tonight's meeting. I would like to remind everybody who is attending to go ahead and if you would want to speak in the open forum or be recognized by the mayor, if you'd use the Q&A button to then go ahead and put in a question or a request to be recognized at this time. Mayor, I'm not seeing any requests or to be recognized or questions for the open forum.
okay, thank you very much, Mr. Poliak. I will go ahead with the proclamation. I sent this to all of you earlier today. If I'd thought about it, I would have sent it earlier. I'd have looked at it, but what the reason for the proclamation is, it's to our employees that are abiding by all the COVID rules, and that's necessary really for the CARES Act to have a proclamation saying that we're working there with our employees to make it as safe as possible for them. That's the reason, part of the reason we do these Zoom meetings, to make everyone safe. So if you'll bear with me, I'll read the proclamation so that if anyone else who's listening wants to hear it. Whereas the unprecedented health issues created by the spread of COVID-19 virus worldwide in the United States and locally in the village of Boston Heights has placed a burden on the Boston Heights Police Department and other personnel. Whereas extra attention to stop the spread of COVID-19 has incurred additional expenses within the village of Boston Heights Police Department and other associated departments in protecting the members of said departments from the inherent danger of the COVID-19 spread. And whereas through department-wide diligence to stop the spread of COVID-19, extra hours have been incurred by the Boston Heights Police Department and additional safeguards in the form of PPEs, personal protective equipment, were required. Therefore, to protect the village population, as well as all members of the Boston Heights Police Department and other departments, the village of Boston Heights diligently and expediently prepared to stop the spread of COVID-19 by the implementation of stringent protective procedures such as social distancing, use of PPE, and required hand washing and sanitizing. So Want to enter that into the record, and we will have that for the CARES Act audit. Thank you very much. Is there anyone now who has voiced their opinion they wish to speak in the open forum? Mr. Poliak?
I do not see any requests.
Okay. All right, at that point then, we will go on. We need a motion to approve minutes from the September 8th and the September 22nd, 2020 council meetings. I have a motion to approve those.
September 9th and 22nd?
8th, I think.
Is it the 9th, Betty?
Oh, we got two different dates. Hold on just a second. So it's September 9th.
Yes, you're correct.
Yes,
Yeah, we moved it to the 9th, remember, because we
Right.
had the,
right.
so, I'm sorry.
The minutes are
Okay.
correct. The agenda is not.
Okay. So we're approving the minutes for the September 9th and the September 22nd council meetings. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Ron. We have a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Heather. We have a vote, please.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Bartko,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
and Mr. Poliak.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. We'll now move on to the ordinances for the evening. The first ordinance, 2020-10-24, I'm going to read the heading, and then we've all agreed we're just going to go to the second reading on that because we have the public hearing scheduled for the next council, before the next council meeting. So ordinance 2020-10-24 is an ordinance approving the application of Republic Boston Heights LLC and updating village zoning classification map and declaring an emergency. As I said, this will go to second reading. We have no other suspension of rules or anything. Let's now go to ordinance 2020-10-25. This is an ordinance creating sections 189.064 and 189.065 of the village codified ordinances in order to allow for tax credits that foster new jobs within the village and declaring an emergency. Like a motion to suspend the three reading rule.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Bartko. Roll call, Mrs. Klingenberg.
Who actually made the motion, Mayor?
Mr. Antel?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mr. Bartko.
Yeah.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
and Mr. Poliak.
Yes.
Okay. Motion to suspend the three reading rule as carried. But now I ask for a motion to adopt so that we can discuss ordinance 2020-10-25.
That's so move.
Thank
I'll
you, Mr.
second.
Fenn.
I'll
Second?
Second.
Mr. Antel. Okay. This is the section that the in light of perhaps future expansion in the village. And Kathy, I don't know, did Marshall leave any information about this with you?
Did not. I did
Okay.
not see him today. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I should have asked when he said he wasn't going to come, but anyway, this allows for us to look at offering tax credits to perhaps businesses that may want to come into the village. And our solicitor has looked into how we would do that, and this is legislation to get that basis in for actually being able to create that kind of a program. Is there anyone who has a question on that?
Who determines who gets the tax credits and how much? Is there a commission or?
Well, yes, if you look at the orders there, it'll say the village council, before the village council passes an ordinance granting a credit, the village and the taxpayer shall enter into an agreement specifying all the conditions of the credit.
Huh.
And that's in section 189.064, and that same sentence is in section 189.065.
No, because I don't have the detailed listing of it.
Well, it's in the,
Yeah, but I don't have that.
Oh, you don't?
Oh, I probably have it and didn't read it. That's more like it, I think.
okay. Do you want me to read that in its
No,
entirety?
no.
If you
Okay.
find that you don't have it, it was all set out, let me know and I'll send out another one.
Right, it was sent with the actual agenda.
Okay,
Fine. I got a copy of it.
okay.
Okay. All right, are there other questions or how does the council want to proceed? We have a motion on the floor made by Mr. Fenn, seconded by Mr. Antel. Do we want to proceed with a vote or?
Is this something that we have to pass right away?
Well, I don't know how.
We're back convening in
Any-
2 weeks.
We could wait 2 weeks, sure.
But I would like to say that, I mean, for the village to go into any agreement, Mr. Fenn, it pretty much it would require our vote as a council. This just gives us an additional tool for economic development purposes geared specifically towards fostering new job creation that we at later dates would absolutely have to approve an agreement when an agreement would be made with, if this tool was used within an agreement, is how I understand it.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Is anyone going to seek out more information within the next 2 weeks on this? If not, I'd say let's just vote on it.
Yeah, just vote on it.
Okay, no,
I would as well.
this is going to stay the way it is in its entirety, Rob.
Okay,
All right, so we have a motion made by Mr. Fenn, seconded by Mr. Antel. Roll call.
Mr. Fenn,
yes.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
Mr. Bartko,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. That ordinance passes, becomes ordinance 2020-10-25. That's all the ordinances for the evening. Now we will go to resolutions. Resolution 2020-10-38, the resolution authorizing the fiscal officer to request advances on the local tax revenues through Summit County and declaring an emergency. We first need a motion to suspend the 3 reading rule. Consider this.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Heather Davis made a motion and was seconded by
Mr. Fenn.
Chantel.
Oh,
Okay.
Antel, okay.
All right, roll call, Mrs. Bingham?
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mr. Bartko,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Did you say yes, Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fenn
Yes.
and Mr. Poliak.
Yes.
All right, motion to suspend has carried. I would now ask for a motion to adopt resolution 2020-10-38.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Thank you. Have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Fenn.
Only
Betty, if you
comment,
want to-
this is your annual request for advances on your tax revenues as required by law.
So we do this every year, if you
Yes.
recall.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
yes,
Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
and Mr. Barco.
Yes.
Okay. Resolution carries, becomes resolution 2020-10-38. All right, we'll now move to resolution 2020-10-39, a resolution authorizing the mayor and fiscal officer to purchase one police vehicle and declaring an emergency.
Make a motion to suspend the rules.
Thank you, Mr. Antel. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Heather.
Mr.
Roll call.
Antel? Mr. Antel?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
Mr. Barco,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
yes,
and Mr. Fenn.
yes,
Okay. Motion to carry, or motion to suspend has carried. Ask for a motion to adopt resolution 2020-10-39.
I'll
I'll
make a,
make the motion. I have some questions though.
Well, we first need to get it on the floor and then you can
All
ask.
right, I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you.
I'll
Do we have a
second.
second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Antel. Okay, this was actually discussed with the chief and I believe the safety committee, or at least the chair of the safety committee, and then the rest of the committee was brought on board. Ron, do you have anything you could add to that, or?
No, this is one that where we're going to try the hybrid out vehicle to see how it does. Is that the one we're talking about, Bill?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, because it costs a little bit more, but it has a longer, actually like warranty on it. So we
it's
thought,
an 8-year warranty, right?
yeah,
Hmm.
It has an 8-year warranty on it
Yes, that's correct.
because the village is gonna be spending like $51,000 on a police car.
Correct.
Can I also add, Mr. Barco, two things and then you can continue to talk. One is, it's a hybrid. It
Okay.
isn't really going to be any more expensive insurance-wise. And it also is going to save money from a gasoline perspective. We're not going to have that cost. So now you continue to ask your questions.
Okay, Betty, what does a regular police car cost as opposed to the hybrid?
Well, we haven't bought any for a couple of years. So we're talking about a total of about $5,000.
Considering that?
Pardon me?
You're not even considering a non-hybrid car?
The efficiency of the hybrid car was presented to the chief and he wanted to go with the hybrid car. It was less expensive to operate and a long run for everything. So
Less expensive than a regular car?
in the long run, he spoke to me about it and I gave him the approval to do it.
thank you.
So Ron, according to your opinion, this hybrid car would be worth $51,000 over a regular car.
I can guarantee you a hybrid was not an easy sell to me on that.
If I may.
Mr. Antel, are you used to working with any numbers though, where you did a little bit of an analysis to see the long-term cost savings?
Correct. So that's one of the things, we had the longer warranty and there was a lot of issues that we had. And this was one where we're not necessarily going to switch them all to it, but we had the opportunity. It was 5,000 more, but net it was going to cost the same over 5 years or less. And that was part of the experiment to see if it truly was and just how beneficial it would be. We're not saying we're switching the entire fleet, but we want to see how it is. And if we like them, then we're going to probably stick with them.
Well, I'm just concerned that because of COVID-19, the money is so tight that we're spending all this extra money on a hybrid car. When a regular police car would probably do the same business for less money.
Okay, Mr. Barker, I'd like to make these comments. I talked with the chief and with Mr. Antel. The first thing is the warranty on the hybrid car is 8 years. The warranty on the regular car is 3 years.
how long are we gonna keep that car?
Well, we could keep it up to 8 years because it's under warranty, sir. So as a result, we've kept some of these, the car that we're actually trading in on it is a 6-year-old car right now.
Okay,
So, you know, if it lasts 8 years now, we've had to put some money on repairs in that. But
right.
if the car is warranted, Mr. Barco, it would pay for itself, if you see what I mean,
So we're gonna
repair wise.
car for 8 years.
Yeah, we're
Yep.
keeping them longer these
We won't
days.
have to buy a new police car for 8 years.
That's our hope. I don't think we can guarantee that.
Right.
Are you saying that, Ron, or not?
I'm not Nostradamus. I don't know what it's
I
going
mean, you're hoping, but you're spending like $51,000 of the village money.
It was like $4,000 more than the other one, but we got a warranty that's over twice as long.
But, Mr. Barco, the other thing I was to point out to is what you have to remember is both the base cars, both the gas car or the hybrid car, in the 30-some thousand. By the time you equip it with all the equipment that you need and transfer the radios and everything, this is like a total number to have that car backed off the trailer and ready to go out on the road. A lot of times we would be dealing with a price that says, oh, that car is only $34,000.
Right.
Yeah, but by the time you put the steering wheel and the 4 tires and some of the other things on it, some of the other equipment that you need, radios and that, you're in the $45,000 range or so. See what I'm getting at? So this is,
So what
the
you're
chief
saying
priced this all out.
car would be
and
$45,000 and the hybrid car is $51,000. That's what you're saying, Mayor.
We're just using examples here. The chief had said, I believe, Mrs. Klingenberg, that the difference was, and Mr. Antel, the difference was like $3,000-$4,000 in the cars.
Yes.
And if the warranty is more than double that, Bob, we could save that in 1 or 2 repairs, if you understand where I'm coming from. And we would definitely save it in gas because the hybrid gets almost double what the gas car gets. So, and gas is still around $2 a gallon. So if we're saving, you know, so many gallons a year, we're definitely repaying that $3,000-$4,000 difference.
And the chief did check with the local departments, Bob, that are using the hybrid, and Hudson loved it. We're not, and they're hopefully that we will like it as well, or the police department will like it as well.
Okay, I understand that. A hybrid is new technology, and I understand that. But because of COVID-19 and the price, just because of all the money, is the CARES Act helping to pay for that car?
Does the CARES Act help pay for that?
Yeah.
Probably no, because we need it for this salaries and equipment on other things. So we have to decide where to put the money, that's all.
So because of all the money that we're receiving from COVID-19, it isn't helping to pay for that car?
Not at this point, no, unless we have money left over.
All right, on a total separate question, where are we buying the gas for the police car?
Where we get it from WEX and BP.
From where?
WEX, W-E-X. That's a mother company for, we get gas from there. We get gas from BP as well.
But it's like Speed, isn't that, Betty, that card's good at Speedway and what's the other one? What's Giant Eagle's golf gas?
I went totally blank. Yes, Giant Getco, that's it, Getco.
Getco, okay.
Oh, we're getting the Getco. We got it
Right.
at Getco?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think Costco allows you to have fleet cars or fleet cars.
they don't.
That's the issue. That would be the,
That's the issue, right? We'd have to buy a membership and a card for each policeman to be able to use that.
Even our
So-
environmentally friendly police fleet?
Yep. It would cost us too much money.
Hmm.
To join Gecko or Costco? It would cost the village too much money?
We would have to have a membership for each and every officer. Now that's 12 memberships. That's a lot of money. So we would not be any break for us. We're better off using Getco and we use BP.
but if we put in a windmill in Boston Heights, we'll have the money to then buy all the Costco things to do it.
If you put in a what?
A windmill,
Ron, whatever.
A window? Is that what he said?
windmill.
A windmill. So, we'll build windmills.
Okay, a windmill, yes.
Say, money because of COVID-19 is pretty tight. And you're just,
No, but I think the perspective is there's what you pay and then there's what something cost you.
right?
To operate.
And it's gonna cost us less in the long run.
I'm just,
This is what our assumption is, and we're gonna try it out and see.
okay, I'm just voicing my opinion.
Okay. Are there any other questions on this particular resolution?
I just want to say I appreciate Mr. Barco's pointing out the difference in price between a totally gasoline fueled police car. Can you hear me? Yes? And the hybrid. And I appreciate Mr. Antal's detailed explanation on how that choice was made. And it seems to me, I think that my observation, listening to both of you gentlemen, is that there is a benefit and a cost saving actually in the long run to the village. So, but thank you both for your observations and points. I'm all for the hybrid, by the way, so.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Miller. Any other questions?
Ron is on the safety committee and he's a CPA, so he understands this cost stuff. So I'll just go with that. But I'm
Okay.
raising the question because of COVID-19 and the money being tight. That's all.
No, we appreciate that. And Janet and I are still in shock that we agreed on something, so.
I wasn't trying to make it that obvious.
All right, so we have a motion made by Mr. Barco, seconded by Mr. Antel. Roll call.
Lost where I was. Mr. Antel,
Yes,
Mr. Bartko,
I'm abstaining.
Okay,
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
and Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
and Mrs. Miller.
and Mrs. Miller, right, sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries. The extension goes with the majority rule, so that becomes resolution 2020-10-39. Next resolution, resolution 2020-10-40 is a resolution accepting the amounts and the rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county fiscal officer and declaring an emergency. Need a motion to suspend the 3 reading rule.
I so move.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr.
Okay.
Fenn, Mr. Antel, Mrs.
Mr.
Klingenberg.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
Mr. Antel,
Yes,
Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
Mr. Bartko,
Yes?
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
and Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Okay, motion to suspend is carried. Ask for a motion to adopt resolution 2020-10-40.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Thank you, Mr. Antel. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis. Any discussion?
And this again is another year-end cleaning house.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Bartko,
Yes,
Mr. Fenn,
Yes,
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
and Mr. Poliak.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries, becomes resolution 2020-10-40. Resolution 2020-10-41 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to renew the memorandum of understanding with Tinkers Creek Watershed Partners in declaring an emergency. We just need a motion to suspend the 3-reading rule.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barco. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Antel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartko,
Yes,
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
yes,
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
and Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Okay. Motion to suspend is carried. We now ask for a motion to adopt resolution 2020-10-41.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Thank you, Mr. Antel. Second.
I'll second.
Mr. Fenn, thank you. Just as a little insight into this, the reason that we are continuing on is the Tinkers Creek Watershed Partners helps to obtain grants to work on the Brandywine Creek, which is in the village of Boston Heights. And we were encouraged by the engineer because we work with Kate Chappell from that organization. And right now, with the fact that we have a new owner of that 216 acre or so floodplain and area around the Brandywine, we'll be able to work on some improvement grants for that the village can get. And being a part of the Tinkers Creek Watershed Partner helps us to be able to obtain those grants for upgrades and eliminate flooding. Although we haven't had much lately, but over in Ashbrook, we have had about 4 or 5 residences that have had some water over the years caused by the Brandywine. We have a motion and second. Are there any other questions?
I have a quick question. It's not really, this is nothing that we're agreeing to in this memorandum of understanding has changed, right, significantly? It's the same. There's nothing, we're agreeing to the memorandum of understanding that we've had. We're not changing anything in it. Right?
Right.
Yes.
you asking Janet?
This is just renewing or what we have already.
Our memorandum of
we're-
understanding, correct.
Right.
Yeah, we
And
already,
then the other question I wanted to ask was, is there an advantage, say, to the Ashbrook homeowners that back up or that are part of this floodplain in terms of their insurance, because the village is working with a watershed to protect that water plane and that watershed? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think if Brian was here, he'd be able to comment on that. Arthur, do you know anything about that?
No, I don't. That's a good question. I'm not sure. That
Okay.
would be a question for like an insurance company.
I know Brian had come to me and said, Mayor, we need to look at this, and there are some programs we can do, not only along the Brandywine, but other flooding issues that we have throughout the community, that by working with the Brandywine Watershed Group, we can actually perhaps even do some improvements down at the pond at our park. So,
Wow, well, that'd be
Yeah,
great too.
that's correct. But the insurance, in terms of benefits to those residents, I don't think we're aware of that.
so that was the reason we want to continue on with this memorandum of understanding.
Janet,
Any other questions?
village will have an advantage being in a group
Correct,
than being by ourselves.
correct. Okay, so we have a motion made by Mr. Antel, seconded by Mr. Fenn. Are there any other questions? If not, let's do the roll call.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
Mr. Bartko,
Yes,
Mrs. Miller,
Yes,
and Mrs. Davis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That motion is carried, becomes resolution 2020-10-41. Now move on to resolution 2020-10-42, which is a resolution authorizing the Village of Boston Heights to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs regarding the reconstruction of street pavement and ditches along Brandywine Road. This is phase 2, and declaring an emergency. To consider this, we need a motion to suspend the 3 reading
I'll
rule.
make a motion to suspend.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Barco. Roll call, Mrs. Klingenberg.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mr. Bartko,
Yes,
Mrs. Miller,
yes,
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
and Mr. Poliak.
Yes.
Okay. Motion to suspend is carried. I would now ask for a motion to adopt resolution 2020-10-42.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Antel. Any discussion on this? Just a little bit of information I'm going to provide. This resolution and the next one, which is phase 3, will be money to do all of Brandywine Road improvements. We have already been approved, and we'll start next year in 2021, phase 1 of Brandywine Road. It starts at Old 8 and goes toward the Northfield Center, or is that Sagamore Hills Township line?
Right.
Sagamore,
The
okay,
township line.
Township line. So phases 2 and 3, which are these 2 resolutions, finishes that to the township line. So we need, the engineer asked for this legislation so that he can start preparing programs and drawings so that they can be applied for, and we can move forward with upgrade to Brandywine Road. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. Let's take the roll call.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
Mr. Bartko,
yes,
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
and Mrs. Miller.
yes,
Motion carries, becomes resolution 2020-10-42. Final resolution of the evening is resolution 2020-10-43. It is a resolution authorizing the Village of Boston Heights to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission, OPWC, State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs regarding the reconstruction of street pavement and ditches along Brandywine Road, Phase 3, and declaring an emergency. Need a motion to suspend the 3 reading rule.
I'll make a motion to suspend the
Mr.
rules for
Poliak.
consideration.
Do we have a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second it.
Bob.
Bob was the second? Okay. Roll call, Mrs. Klingenberg.
Yes, excuse me, Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
Mr. Bartko,
Yes,
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mr. Davis, Mrs. Davis, sorry. Every once in a while. Mrs. Da-
Ryan's here?
and Mr. Fenn.
Yes.
Okay, the motion to suspend has carried. Now I ask for a motion to adopt Resolution 2020-10-43.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
I'll
Thank you,
second.
Mr. Poliak. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Antel. This is, as I said, phase 3 of that project, so is there any other discussion? Seeing none, a roll call, Mrs. Klingenberg.
Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
and Mr. Bartko.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries, becomes Resolution 2020-10-43. We'll move on to the mayor's report. Last Friday, I took the virtual class for maintenance of the mayor's court background that I have to renew every year so that we're able to hold mayor's court in the village of Boston. And that is completed. I also, last Thursday, attended an ODOT meeting on State Route 8 for the project that's going to start in the spring of 2021, and that's the southbound lanes. The police chief and a couple of policemen also attended, and some of the other communities that attended had informational hints about how to handle accidents, different things like that. Also, Valley Fire was there, so we're going to be on top of being able to handle the issues that'll come up with the repaving of southbound Route 8 from a little north of 303 to Graham Road. Halloween we're going ahead with that. It's from 6 to 8 on Saturday, October 31st. I moved it to Saturday for you, Mr. Poliak, and your entourage. Oh, wait, it's always on Saturday. Okay. Turns out it's on Saturday, the 31st. So, and so we're asking everyone that goes, and I included in the newsletter the state guidelines for safe trick-or-treating. So the police and fire will be out there patrolling and keeping everyone safe. So we will not be handing out candy, however, because we were told that's not safe and every piece has to be wiped down. So, but we wanted to
Some
be
would
able to do
argue
that
it's
for the
not
children.
safe to not hand out candy.
Okay. Megan's Lane was repaved, as most of you know, and there were like 3 or 4 aprons that needed to be redone. Those are supposedly going to be done this week or early next week. Voting, I've been told by the Summit County Board of Elections, will be held in our village hall. They've got a plan figured out as to how they can make it safe. And they will, of course, limit the number of people in and out at one time. And that voting will be on November 3rd from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And just as a reminder, the craft fair that was on schedule for November 7th has been canceled by the Cemetery Association. And that's all I have. We'll move on to the fiscal officer report.
I don't have a lot. A reminder that voting is less than a month away, and the renewal, the fire levy renewal is number 25 on the ballot. And we encourage everybody to go out and exercise their right to vote. And other than that, I really don't have a lot. I want you to understand that we did not do well in the pool passes. We did, but we didn't. We still lost money because we're only open for half the season. but we'll discuss that as the year gets further into winter.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Klingenberg. Moving on to committee reports. Safety Committee, Valley Fire. Anything to report there?
Getting a new hybrid. We talked about that.
We got a new fire engine?
A new fire engine too.
Is it a hybrid?
I'm not sure that's a hybrid.
Not yet.
But it does have, if you've looked at your newsletter, it does have on the side that it serves Boston Township, the Village of Peninsula, and the Village of Boston Heights.
Oh,
Good.
It's on the side of the new engine.
Good.
And that will probably be in service, if it isn't already, sometime later this week. They had to have some things added. They were sent someplace, but the chief, Rito, expected it back later this week. Anything else to report?
no, Ron or Heather, anything that you guys have?
No.
Okay. Roads Committee, Cemetery Trustees.
No, everything's quiet.
Okay. You've possibly noticed that the mowing tractor we had converted to have the sidearm. We've
Mhm.
been mowing behind the backside of ditches and they've been around most of the village.
Oh,
Now, they
good.
still have some to do. They're trying to keep up with all that. But leaf season is going to be beginning here very shortly, so. Anything else?
Nope.
Lands and buildings, anything?
No.
I can report to you, Mrs. Miller, that today, our contract with Jackson Heating, they came around and inspected all of our furnaces in the Village Hall, Police Station, Service Garage, and Fire Department. And we found we're actually money ahead if we have the maintenance done on them rather than waiting for something serious to break. So that's been done. Okay, Economic Community Development.
Not that I've been alerted to.
Okay,
I have nothing to report.
Planning Commission, BZA.
Yes, the Planning Commission met and heard an application for a final site plan and for an assisted living facility and a conditional use certificate at the Baymont Inn and Suites, and it was granted. They met the requirements for the architectural standards of the Hines Hill overlay. They did work on accommodating the shift and change to the elevator for the safety forces. Looks like they came in and met all the needs that the village asked them to do for coming in and doing business. And that's my report.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Polyak. Engineers report, you should have gotten that in your packet. I think Betty sent it out. I don't know, Arthur, do you have anything to add to that or?
No, I'm going to do my best Brian Gorag impression, which is not very great, so apologies in advance. But you all received the engineer's report. Spoke with Brian earlier today. There was nothing additional beyond what he provided in that report that he wanted me to add. However, if any of you have any questions, if I'm unable to answer them at this time, I will mark them down and speak with Brian and be sure to get those answers to you if anyone does have any questions related to the report.
All right, Arthur, I have a question. Under the engineer's report, it said under funding status, and it has Boston Mills Road reconstructions phases 3 and 4, and it has Boston Mills Phase 3 grant is $424,999. Okay, I understand that part. But then it says a loan of $75,000. And then it says local, $323,834. Okay, well, explain that to me. Does the village have to pay back the loan of $75,000?
Would have to find that out for you, Mr. Barco. I don't know. I couldn't give you that answer right here on the spot.
So maybe if Brian's at the next meeting, I can ask him.
I'll bring the question up to him, Mr. Barco, and I can have him reach out to you with the answer to that, since I can't answer that for you right at this time.
The 70, well, right under that is Boston Mills Phase 4, and the loan is for $150,000.
Mhm.
Does the village pay back the loan? Because they're already paying $339,666 on Phase 4. So do you add loans to what the village is paying?
I'll ask him that question. I understand the question, and I will ask that to him, and we'll make sure to get that answer to you.
And Arthur, I probably could answer it. It's all
Oh, go ahead, Betty.
side of the folder as well, so I can do phase 3 and where we are financially, and it's a non-interest loan and so forth. I could help with that.
Okay. So explain that to me.
I will. I'll send it out to everybody, but I have to go and get the folder, and I'm not near the folder right now.
Okay, but does the village have to pay the loans back?
Yes, we do. They're non-interest. There's no interest on those loans, and we
Right.
do pay an amortization schedule. And
Right.
actually, with those loans that we have currently in lieu, we do not, we're actually ahead of the game because last year I paid more than was required, so that we are ahead.
Okay, so on Phase 3 and 4, the village would have to repay the loans of $225,000. Is that what I understand?
I'm not questioning the amount because I don't have it, but yes, we do pay any loan back, yes, at interest-free for approximately 30 years. Each one's a little different in
Okay.
terms of years, but just average it out to being 30 years.
So we won't have to pay those loans back for over 30 years.
We will have to pay them back twice a year over the next 30 years.
Which is how much?
I
Yeah.
don't know that right now because I don't have the folder in front of me.
So you don't know.
That's what I said, yes. And
She
so
will
I-
get you that information, Bob.
She knows, she's going to get the information and send it out to all of us, Bob.
I will send an amortization schedule and kind of let you all in on the same thing at the same time.
So she does know, Bob. And
All
she's
right,
going to
well, Betty, that would be,
get back to you.
that'd be great.
I will be happy to do that.
Okay,
Give me a couple of days though.
okay, that'd be great.
Hmm?
I'm just, like I said, I was confused. You broke it down into 3 different numbers and I was just confused.
Now, each one's a separate loan and a separate bench of paperwork.
I understand. Now
Okay. Mrs. Klingenberg, we'll get that out to everyone. We will move on now to old business. Anybody have any? Any new business? I know of no reason for an executive session.
I got one question on new business. And
Okay,
well, this is a virtual meeting and I'm just looking. It's down to 2 attendees now. I'm just questioning, and maybe you can answer me in the chat forum. Who is James and Sasha Miller? I'm not, I don't know who they are.
You've met Jim.
Maybe you can answer me in a chat forum.
Jim
I'm
Miller
just-
attends our
I'm
meetings.
just asking a question.
Mayor, isn't
I
Jim
know
Miller the one
who
from
Nico
the?
is, but
Yeah.
Festival?
The Millers are in the farm that's on, I'm gonna get this right, Heinz Hill Road. And that's the Cuyahoga Valley National Park Farm. I believe it's called Purple,
Purple Brown.
Yeah,
yes. So they live there. Jim is on our park board, James. And they probably just want to find out what's going on in the village, so they've been listening.
I just want to thank them for attending the meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. All right, as I said, we're at adjournment, and I have on the clock here, it says 7:58. So we are adjourned at 7:58. Need a motion?
I just need to ask one question before we go. I'd like to ask Kathy, what's your puppy's name? I don't know, I think she might be on mute.
What are you?
Kathy, you're on mute.
Muted.
Okay,
There you go.
better?
Yes.
The puppy's name's Neelix. It's a Star Trek character.
Oh!
Neelix.
He needs to
Okay.
go outside, so I'm trying to distract him.
Aw, that's so cute. All of a sudden this puppy popped up. I was just,
I was trying to distract him, yeah, because I can't just run and let him out right now, so.
so cute. What was, say his name again?
Neelix, Neelix, yeah.
Cute, very cute. So he was
Okay.
part of the meeting too, he. There were two, there were the attendees and there were our animal attendees too.
I think we should bring all of our animals.
Oliver was here, he was here.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Janet. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor signify by raising your hand. We count it, okay. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh.
So we're good.
Thanks, everybody.
We are adjourned at 7:59.
Hey, Mayor, I'm going to move the host back to you for the recording.
Thank you. Thank you for all coming to the meeting tonight.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yep.
All right. Remember, in 2 weeks, we have the public hearing at 6:30.
6:30.
Right.
Thanks for that reminder.
All right.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye now. Thank you, Don. You're back to me, so we're good.